All right, so welcome to the actual, hi Maureen. Welcome to the actual bonus session, everyone. For those of you who can't be here with us, we are recording for you. I'm gonna go to share my screen. I'm gonna share my PowerPoint presentation, and this is the, oh, here we go. I'm just hoping that you'll be like, oh, there we go. Okay, no, thank God it pops up on this screen as well, so I don't have to stop sharing. Okay, all right. So this is the bonus session. Welcome to the One-Liner Marketing Shortcut to Increased Revenue in 90 Minutes. Bonus, bonus, bonus. And my God, did you guys hit on a bonus? Because I thought long and hard about what do I want to make this bonus? And I thought it should be so super juicy. So it is. I just wanted to remind you of your one-liner pitch formula. It is the target that you help plus the problem that you solve plus the how you help. Okay. And a lot of you got a chance to practice this and
Stop making that noise.
Sorry, everybody mute yourselves. Yeah. And then, and maybe I should mute everyone. Let me see. Can you guys mute yourselves? Let me see that we do this. Yeah, oh, everybody's already muted. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. You guys are such a good audience. You know exactly what to do. Okay, so you should have had this formula down and you should have been practicing it all night long on everybody who would ever listen, your cat, your wife, whoever. And now this is the bonus. So you remember I told you about my do-it-yourself, nail your niche, DIY class. So you please don't mute yourselves, everyone.
Wait, 444?
Not everybody's muted. Can you please all mute yourselves? Yeah, thank you. All right, so then what I decided to do is this is the program, and we're going to actually do the training number 6. So the first, and this is something that you can also buy for yourself, and you're going to be getting a sneak peek of the actual module 6 of the training, and it's actually the marketing plan. So what do you do once you have your elevator pitch? That is the tool. And to remind you, first the program covers how do you find your specialty. Then it looks at, okay, how do you find your target market, that vertical? Then it looks at what is your celebrity brand that you can use to be memorable. And then the fourth one is how do you put all of that together into a message that's magnetic and sticks to people? And then how do you find where your ideal clients are hanging out? And lastly, which is what we're going to present today, what I'm going to present to you today is what does that marketing plan look like? Okay. And so you know where to find them. This was the sun. Do you remember this model? It's the customer sun, the worldview of your target market. You put them in the middle. And then this whole presentation is going to be, this sun is a metaphor for your marketing plan. So this is a marketing plan for both the B2B and B2C. And I'm going to take you through all the examples. Don't you worry. You're going to be super, super clear on what exactly this is and what to do with it. So here's a whole bunch of marketing activities list that you can do. You could do networking, public speaking, sponsoring an event or a booth. You can do interview marketing. You can invite people to parties and lunch and learns, and you can pay for their lists or co-create an event. You can do executive roundtables. You can do something called power breakfast, social media, podcasts, newsletter, and cocktail parties. Now, I'm going to show you which of these you can do for which spoke of the sun. Okay, so the marketing I don't recommend is referral groups. I think they're just too generic, like the BNIs we have here in Canada and the US. Boards of trade I find are too generic. Any generic groups that gather, I just find that they're you can't tailor your to their needs and your messaging. Social media by itself, I haven't found that it works by itself for my business. Newsletter, I've had a newsletter by itself. It works really well to help build my business, but by itself, I can't say that I make the, lots of money that I make by itself. And any passive marketing, like any sort of affiliate or anything like that by itself, is just not for myself or for my clients. By itself, it doesn't work. That's why I'm doing this for you today, so that you have a full marketing plan in front of you. So here are the tactics by spoke. So the first spoke of the sun, and what I call spoke is the line that goes out from the sun. So the first one is lifestyle, and this is B2C. So what do a lot of them do or like? So maybe a lot of them drive the same kind of car, they're all married, they all go to the same, golf course, they all geographically live in the same area, or they go to the same country club. So what this spoke of the sun, is finding where your targets gather by their lifestyle. Remember, I kept telling you, please, please, please find people who have the same interest, or find people who are in the same industry. That's why you have to put them in the middle of the sun. Now, what do they have in common? A lot of them have either, as I said, drive a certain car, have the same hobby, belong to a certain club. And how can you market to them? Well, join the club and network with them. You can public speak where they are. You can sponsor an event there or sponsor a booth there. You can do interview marketing with the people that are there. You can invite them to a lunch and learn or a party. You can pay for the organizers for their list, or you can co-create an event. You can do a pop-up store in their business, or you can do social media to their direct groups. And here are some examples. So this was a personal trainer who sponsors a lunch while talking about losing weight to moms of young kids. And how many of you have kids who have spent their lifetime in the first couple of years of their lives in these indoor gyms? I mean, we're in Canada, so these are way more prevalent than they should be, because it's cold outside. This was a downsizing organizer client, and she does a talk about how boomers can save time while moving. And the Granite Club, established in 1875, is one of the most expensive clubs for high net worth individuals in Toronto. It's $100,000 to join, and it's, I think, like $65,000 a year after that to continue to be a member. And that's where she gets her clients, by speaking there. What about wealth advisors? Remember the wealth advisor I told you about? She joined and networks with divorcing women at their meetup. Look at this, Moving Beyond Separation and Divorce has 1,666 members in Toronto alone. She goes to that group. What about a massage therapist who gives executives a free massage at a golf tournament? I actually got one. And of course I hired her. And of course I gifted her to my son's private school teachers. I gifted her to my clients that were local. Yeah, it worked. Okay, now marketing sun spoke number 2, media and publications. So in the customer's sun, it takes on the right. So these are the trade publications, podcasts, social media. So what it is intercepting your target prospects where they consume any kind of media. So as I said, the podcasts, blogs, newsletters, radio shows, their eyes and ears is what I call this one, social media groups and trade publications. So what can you do as ideas for marketing in this spoke of the sun is you can do ads. Advertorials are ads that you pay for, but it's written like an article, but you paid for it to place it. You can do sponsoring a section or a podcast. You can do interview marketing in print or live, and I'll show you all these examples. You can pay for their list or co-create an event. You can do a podcast. You can do newsletter insertions. You can do a guest post, resident blogger, and social media. So here's some examples. This was me. I was a resident blogger for an organization called Women in Biz Conference. And that was my target, was small business owners. And you could see every week I had a recurring blog so that they recognized my name. Then I did vlogs. So this was for another organization targeting small business owners. And they actually paid for the videos at that time in a studio, with lighting and production and editing. And I gave them the content and they put it into their, small business magazines. You can blog obviously on social media, do not miss being a frequent and weekly and consistent contributor on these. Like I have a LinkedIn newsletter as well as my own newsletter. Of course, like and comment on the prospect's social media activities. The more, the more organic, the better. Stock online, I love this one. Chip Cooper was a client of mine in Florida. He's a lawyer, and he was trying to recruit Sally, this woman, and or Danica, this woman Danica that you can see in Twitter, now X. And he was trying to invite her to a private event, an executive roundtable, and he couldn't reach her for like weeks and weeks. And then I taught him this method. And he reached out to her and said, hey, trying to reach you to invite you to an event. I'm a friend of so-and-so. And then she replied within a day and she said, awesome, just followed you back. I'll DM my email. And then she could be reached at Danica. So that was easy, right? And then she came to his roundtable. Be a guest on a podcast they listen to. This was one that I paid $5,000 to appear on. It was called Fire Nation, still really very popular. And that's Johnny Lee Dumas, the host. And like he's got, at the time, like that was during COVID or it was just before COVID, he had like over 1 million downloads. I mean, he's no Joe Rogan, but in the small business space. And I had so many people who wanted to talk to me and book a call with me that we had to the system broke down. Like I had to tell people that I couldn't talk to them anymore. And we just couldn't take any more calls at that time. And years after being on a guest on that podcast, I got another client out of the blue who had listened to the archive. So, I mean, how many people listen to the archives of a podcast? I don't know. Then I had 3 podcasts myself. One of them was Polish My Pitch. And during COVID, when I couldn't go out and meet people, I invited people to be my podcast guests. And so many of the people who were on the call last week and yesterday were actually people that I met through my own podcasts. Here is the Marketing Sun Spoke number 3. How do you reach people through associations and organizations? So what it is intercepting your target. Remember I said they gather by industry associations, organizations for their interest group. So you find their local chapter meetings, you go to their meetup groups, but you find them. And that's the Spoke of the Sun. So here are ideas for marketing to them in this spoke. 1, you can just go and network. 2 is get on their board, because if you volunteer with them, they're going to want to like you, trust you, know you, help you. Sponsor them. They are always looking for sponsors. Speak at the meetings. That takes a little bit longer. Some of them are harder to get into. So like some of my clients are trying to speak at SHRM meetings, which are like the HR conferences in the US. And those are very, very competitive. So you have to have a very on-point topic. It has to be very pain-based, has to be very specific and relevant, and it has to be worded and messaged the same way. And this is where your one-liner really comes in. Okay, let me take a sip. Then once you're out speaking, sponsoring, networking, you invite people for coffee that you meet. And then they become, you invite them into a sales conversation and they become a client. You can provide articles, videos for their newsletter, website, or you can run an executive roundtable that's hosted by them. Here's some examples. Now, how to find them is, this is the keywords that I use, whatever the industry is. So put the name of the industry. So it could be IT or whatever the interest group. You can put association, organization, chapter meeting, whatever the city is and whatever the time is. And then one of the things you can do is join where they belong. Like look at where your people are and join that group. You can volunteer, as I said. Be useful to their group. So this is something that I used to do and that I still do, is if there's a conference coming up, I will approach the organizers and say, hey, I'll provide you content for your marketing on social media or in emails by making videos of interviews that I do with your speakers. And that you can feature your speakers. It'll give them a conference link to register, and it'll give you content to drum up interest and foot traffic. And it worked like a charm. Not only did I get to meet some of these speakers who then became either, referral partners or actual clients, but I actually got more visibility at these conferences and scored brownie points with the organizers who would then hire me to speak at these conferences. Speaking, huge. I mean, last year I made 30% more in my business than I did the year before. And it's all because I spoke at more conferences. Now I'm a little bit exhausted because I'm in Canada. So that meant like I was at the Nexus, border every 2 weeks this year, but it paid out. So invite prospects to an interview series. This could be the kind of interview that's like journalistic interview, like on paper. This could be just audible, like through a voice interview, or it could be a video interview. This is even before they had podcasts. I used to invite prospects to interview series. I would just cold reach out to them on social media, like on LinkedIn. And I'd say, why I'm doing it, where it's going to appear. And people will, if they wanted to, if they had something to say, if they wanted to be featured, would be very, very happy to meet with me. That would allow me to gain access to them and to get to know them, get to know their story, and for them to get to know me. And when you do a kindness to someone, they want to return it. Executive roundtables have been the way that I've built my business in the last year. Not only do I speak at conferences, but I have the conference organizers fill executive roundtables. They're up to 13, 15 people. They're not 8, but you can start with 8. And they're all CEOs of small businesses that I want to target. And they're gathered to facilitate for a facilitated discussion. I facilitate the discussion and the persistent and costly pain points. So for example, the ones that I do for the B2B space is how to sell to corporations, because it's really hard to sell to corporations. So when you put on these executive roundtables, it positions you as an expert in the solution, and it works really well. I mean, my packages, my programs, my one-on-one programs go anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000, and most of my $50,000 clients come from these executive roundtables. I can't say enough good things about it. Power breakfasts are, about 15 people and they're 90 minutes, but they're all you talking. The executive roundtables is you're facilitating them talking, but this is you talking. So it's essentially what I'm doing now, except you can do specific to one topic, or you can do it as a series. You can charge people money. You can do it in person. You could do it online. They're called power breakfasts. So the Marketing Sun Spoke number 4 is meetings and conferences and trade shows. And basically that's where it sits. And what can you do in this spoke is you can become an exhibitor. You can sponsor anything, literally. I've been to conferences where people have sponsored lanyards, for God's sake. That's the thing that hangs from your neck with your name tag, food or one party. Interview marketing, what I taught you before podcasts used to exist, in print or live in their newsletter or the website or in their LinkedIn group. You can pay for their lists. So lists are really important because they contain the essence of somebody else having done the heavy lifting to put together your whole prospect list for you. And if they either can rent their lists through co-creating an event like a roundtable or a lunch and learn, or that you can actually pay for their list, see if they would do that. And then the newsletters, you can do an insertion, a guest post, like I showed you, the resident blogger, vlogger into the publication that I showed you. And you can, of course, share and post into their actual groups. And then you can tease prospects with pre-outreach meet at the event itself. So let me show you this. I actually have a whole program around what to do to get clients at conferences. So obviously this is an obvious one you can exhibit. Or here's another one. If you exhibit, but you invite to your booth with pre-marketing. So this was a company called Launch, and they sent targeted emails inviting to the trade show booth with a contest incentive saying, are you doing everything you can to engage shoppers? Stop by our booth 108 at the blah, blah, blah marketing expo to see what's next and catch a glimpse of blah, blah, blah. We do this all the time with clients. It works beautifully. Do a pre-event outreach to meet at the event. Every time I feel like a tickle or a cough coming on, I take a sip and it's working. It's working so far, you guys. So for example, I would do a pre-conference education, and then I would ask people to meet me at the conference. You can speak at their meetings and conferences. This is the dearly departed Suzanne Summers. This is me speaking at NASDAQ. Suzanne and I met at the Harvard Club of Boston, and we were on stage together. Obviously, it was like a program put together, you know, to be with her. We kind of paid for the privilege and so on, but it was a great photo op, and she was very inspirational. Like, I was shocked. I'm shocked she's still gone, because she seemed so vitally alive. Who knew? Like, she had cancer, I think, right? Conference coaching. I can't say enough about conference coaching. This guy at a trade show, a local trade show, had bought a children's IKEA puppet booth, had put it up. He could barely fit behind it. It was hilarious. And then he hand wrote a sign called Business Coaching, Performance Improvement, Help for 5 cents. It's so tongue in cheek, but oh my God, there was a lineup for this guy. Now, books. It has never been an easier time to write a book. These are all self-published, you guys. Now, I've written 4. The last one was called How to Make Anyone Like You in 7 Seconds or Less. And I actually get on TV appearances using these books, because normally they want to talk to you if you have a book. Drive traffic to their event. I told you how I do that through interviewing people. The other marketing sunspoke is other professionals. So what does that mean? Is intercepting your target market through an introduction from other vendors they currently work with. So they must share the same prospect. So remember the middle of the sun. If they already serve this target market, you and there are other suppliers, and you could do cross referral fees. You can do affiliate programs. You can co-host and co-fill a cocktail party, a seminar, a webinar, online giveaway. You can market to each other's list. You can say, you bring 5 of this target and I'll bring 5 of this target. So here's examples. Obviously, a cross referral program. You know, friend uses Airbnb, they get money. Become an affiliate. This was a program I was an affiliate with. A friend was doing a giveaway. I actually sent it to my own list. You can co-host a webinar. You know, this woman and I co-hosted a webinar together. And so she sent it to her list. I sent it to my list. You can co-host an event. This is Patagonia is a outdoor retail clothing store. You know, I love this brand. And even though they sell clothing, they actually did a local food pop-up, because their values are so aligned, and the person in the middle of the sun for them is the same as somebody who would go to a local food market. This is a woman who actually does a list of coaching events. And for other coaches, why wouldn't you, you know, pair up with someone like that, partner up with someone like that, and do any of the other, you know, either affiliate, or you can do any of the other mentioned ways to get onto her newsletter, or to get onto some way of being her partner. And she's not the only one. There's so many of them. It's just one example. So lastly, your competition is the last spoke of the sun. Now, how on earth do you market through your competition? You're asking yourself. So you intercept your target prospect through an introduction from a vendor who's sort of your competition, but not exactly selling what you're selling. And here's what I mean. I'm a marketing strategy coach, and I actually can do referrals with SEO, networking, digital media companies, even though they're also doing marketing, but I do niching strategy. I do messaging strategy. They do all these different other things. So, but they must share the same prospect target in the middle of the sun with you. So that's where that sits. And again, the ideas for marketing with these people is the same as the cross referral stuff. You can do affiliate programs with them. You can pay them for referrals. You can co-host and co-fill cocktail parties, seminars, webinars, online giveaways, market to each other's list, and conference coaching. So here's some examples. Here's a real estate referral program. Here's the way that I do conference coaching. Remember the guy that was doing the little booth, the little IKEA puppet booth? So there's actual like sign up boards at the conferences that I go to, where I actually bring other coaches with me who do other parts of marketing. And then we're all, people are signing up to talk to us for 15 minutes. Here's another conference where we've done that, and so on. I'm actually going to be doing it again in March in Denver at the WeBank show. I've been offered a booth by one of my sponsors to be able to do that. Here's a really great example of Patagonia that, I just love this brand. They actually have an upcycle workshop where you bring your old torn up Patagonia clothes and they teach you how to fix it, even though they're actually selling brand new Patagonias that they should be pushing you to buy instead. But because what their philosophy is upcycling and saving the earth, and the people in the middle of their sun is the people that upcycle all the time, that they protect the earth, they protect the earth from pollution and so on. So that's why this works so well. And I want you to think about what are the events that you could be co-hosting. So what you do is the next step in your marketing plan is to calendarize your sun. Here is the marketing plan. So you see all the spokes of the sun, the lifestyle, the publications and media, associations, organizations, meetings, other professionals in your competition, and you calendarize it. And you can literally write in all the different plans you have for each of the different things that you want to do in each of the different spokes of the sun at different times. And what I want you to do is write down the cost of each activity or event that it's going to cost you and add it up. So this is an example from Imagine. This is 2012. Holy cow. So you could see that these are some of the things that I was doing in lifestyle and publications, and you can't see, but the total cost here, I added it all up and you can see it was like $28.45. Now, usually what you try to do is I want you to have 10% of your total sales be your total cost of marketing spent. Okay. So before I get there, that's all the teaching I have today. Welcome everyone that I didn't see come in. Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. So what questions do you have for us? For me? Is there any questions? No? Are there any comments and anybody actually using any of this? Oh, Jimmy, go ahead. And then Cheryl.
I don't have a question right this minute. However, one of the things that you mentioned, which actually a friend of mine has used very effectively, because we all know that it's very hard to get because he would like to speak to the SHRM, and of course that's very difficult to do. But what he has done is he has found a couple of the different ways that he can do talks and workshops to SHRMs, like for example, cyberbullying, workplace harassment, and now his latest thing is in sextortion. And basically what he does is he uses those topics to be able to get invited to speak to SHRM meetings. And and he goes around the country doing that, because he's in the volunteer employee benefits, the workspace, and just by using different topics, he gets invited to speak with to SHRM attendees. It has nothing to do with what he does. As far as the product that he offers, but he gets in front of them, and that's how he builds relationships with all those HR personnel.
Then, and he's selling benefits and he gets in front of them by speaking about a completely different problem. Is that it? Is there any link between what he's speaking and what he's selling at all?
Indirectly, yes.
Yeah, there would have to be some. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients had, her business was divorce. So nobody wants to have a divorce specialist and nobody will sign up to go to a divorce workshop, right? Because nobody wants to admit that they're in trouble or thinking of trouble or anything like that. So how we got around that, and the number one industry that needed her, the number one highest divorce rate was paramedics and police. So the most like, macho kind of environment, right? So the way that we got around that was to do workshops around prevention of divorce. So red flags. Another client just recently, he's a physician who is a specialist in addiction. Well, let me tell you, he is right now calling every industry association in his city, and they are all over him because the way that we've positioned him is red flags in X industry. So auto dealers or, pharmaceuticals, red flags in pharmaceutical employees that can indicate potential addiction and how to prevent it. So those are some of the ways that you can get around that. But there has to be, Jimmy, there has to be some sort of link, because if you're talking about a problem and you can't solve it, how are you going to monetize that audience? That's what I'd like to know. I mean, all day, every day. I have clients who actually launch books that they've written that have very little to do with what ends up happening in the research that we do and where they need to niche. And to me, it's almost wasted. Like it's like, how do they have to interlink, they have to support each other, they have to be one. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Cheryl, did you have a question?
Not a question, comments. You asked, the questions you asked is if did we do anything on the Spoke, right?
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of the stuff on the Spoke, not everything, not the last two, I guess. But I've gotten articles in trade publications, right?
Mhm.
And I'm a member of I'm in security software. So I'm in 4 security associations, right? I do go to their conferences. And so one of the challenges for me was when I came up with my technology, because I'm software. The software was for the security industry, but I did not come from the security industry. So therefore I had no network in that security industry. So I had to do a lot of what you're saying. And so like for me, you said being on the board, I'm a Women in Security Forum, which is under the bigger security industry association. I'm on their board, on their steering committee. And then they've just made me a co-chair, because one of the things that I was interested in, how do we help entrepreneurs or women-owned businesses to get better matchmaking meetings and whatever within the overall association, which was 33,000 members.
Mhm.
And so now I'm one of the co-chairs, and I'm like, great. Now they're getting ready to do a press release to go out to all the members. And so to me, that's all free advertisement.
Mhm.
Right. And so that's what you mean by it's taken a while. It hasn't turned into money yet, but part of it is I can see where my network is growing. I know when I go places, people know who I am now. And so it's not as, there was a time when I first started when people didn't even want to talk to me. They'd be like, who are you? And now I walk into a group and they, at least a couple of people know me. So that then starts them introducing me to other people who I don't know within the group. So it's almost an organic growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since you and I worked together, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're applying some of these principles. But what I'm interested in is, and we can take this offline and we can talk
Yeah.
about it, but how can you monetize those new relationships now? Because that recognition is gold. That recognition is trust. Trust makes people give you a meeting. And when you're actually selling the right thing to the right people with the right message, that's when you close faster. So that's the gap that I see in what you're telling me now. So that's amazing. Yeah. So that's a great segue. And I will let you do your one-liner, but I want to go back and share with you what is next for you guys. I'm going to invite you guys, for those of you who weren't here, This is the program that I was presenting to you.
Mhm.
It's the Nail Your Niche program. It's, you can see here $4.99 or 2-pay option of $298.50 over a month. So like it's spaced out over a month. And then you can go and you can just register yourself and purchase the plan or the whole module, 7 modules on repositioner.com/niche. But if you want like done with you instead of like the DIY, then please go ahead and schedule a complimentary positioning session. Now, this is not like a freebie to bounce off your ideas. This is if you're truly looking to work with someone like me. And we'll talk about, you know, what can the next 6 months look like? What are some of the positioning statements that you can do? And then what exactly is the growth goal? And I can give you some clarity on how to overcome some of those obstacles. And I don't know if you can see, but you sign up for that at repositioner.com/schedule. So those are the next steps. And Cheryl, I definitely encourage you to, you know, sign up for the schedule so we can get back on track and talk about your next steps. Because I know we had left it this year, I think.
Yeah.
And the hardest part of change is not making the same choices yesterday, you guys. So I really commend you for being here, for trying new things, for learning new things, and for coming back. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. And in the meantime, let's pick up Cheryl's one-liner. So let's have a go at it.
I actually wrote it down just so I can make sure I do it right. So I'm in security, right? And just a little segue. I'm in security, and when I talk to my customers, they want to be able to communicate with their fans and their visitors at large public places, at arenas, but they don't want to create fear, but they still need that security solution. So what I wrote yesterday was, Guardian Zone helps festivals, concerts, and stadium operation managers, venue managers, and public safety officers engage with fans and visitors in real time for an improved guest experience by integrating our security software solutions seamlessly into their existing app or public safety platform.
I love it. Okay. So, and it's been some time, so you're gonna have to remind me. Do I have your permission to polish?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So what is the number one problem that lack of customer engagement causes?
The number one problem that it causes is that when there's an emergency, they have no way of communicating any kind of information to the fans or receiving information from the fans.
Okay. And what does that cause?
Oh, I actually wrote that down too. So let me go back to my little.
You can tell she's worked with me.
Okay. Cause of not communication. They can't engage with the fans to upsell either merchandise or provide guidance during an emergency, doesn't build lasting relationship with fans or brand awareness. And then I put result of not communicating. There is no return. There's no next event, no buying more stuff or spot. It doesn't allow for trust during an emergency. Lack of trust with fans, bad situations get out of control.
Okay. And I think we were about to, I think you were trying to find out, and so remind me of this if you haven't. You named 3 or 4 different problems. Which is the biggest one for them, like the most expensive one? Is it that they don't come to the next events? Is it that there's an emergency that people die? Or is it they can't upsell merchandise?
It's all 3 of those, but I think it depends on which one of those guys you're talking to. If I'm talking to the operations manager, he wants to sell more merchandise and get more people in the seats. If you talk to their public, and they're all working together, so they all work together. So that's the bizarre part. If you talk to the public safety officer, it's being able to engage with those people during an emergency. But all of it comes down to a lack of communication. So communication, being able to communicate with the fans at any given point during an event.
So in our, you know, conversation together, what we're gonna talk about is, how do we find out which is our biggest target? Is it the operations? Is it the public safety? Which should we be targeting? And then whose language should we be using? Because If it's two different groups who care about completely two different things, we have to figure out, that's our job to figure out who to target, because who is the check signer for us? Who
Yes.
is the lowest hanging fruit? Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, and it's funny because I just had a big conversation with a big festival promoter, like one of the top
Yeah.
3 in the country. And I started out talking with their VP of operations. He liked what we're doing. And so he's actually looking to see about us integrating into their app. But then he goes, but I want you also to talk to my VP of public safety. So, and as you said, that becomes a slightly different conversation than his. Operation does everything, right? From seats to tickets to whatever. Public safety is, I want to keep you safe. So that's why I tried to marry that in that
Yeah. No,
one-liner.
yeah, you heard the saying, one horse, the two bums, or what is it? What's that saying?
I
You
don't know.
can't ride a horse with two bums. I don't know
Or
what.
two saddles or something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, something like that.
So,
So we'd have to figure out who is the entry point, right?
okay,
In most of like, and again, we would have to look at, okay, because you had two different targets, right? It was the festivals and then the sports. So then we'd have to look at, do they actually act differently, or are they the same? Is it the point of entry? Is it the
Yeah.
ops, or is it the public? Who is in most pain and who's most liable to look at you and bring you
so
on
at
board?
a lot of stadiums, a lot of big festivals and concerts now are being done at stadiums. So they're becoming the same thing. You do have some that are like, if you did like Burning Man in California, where they have 70,000 people or whatever, they're out in the middle of nowhere in the desert kind of deal. You have those festivals and concerts too, but a lot of them are moving into the stadiums as well. So
That's good. That's good
Yeah.
to know. Yeah,
Yeah.
so book and let's talk afterwards.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any other questions? I think Jody asked a really good question. What was your biggest takeaway? Does anybody want to volunteer? What was your biggest takeaway from these 2 or 3 days that you joined us? Yes, Mia.
For me, Chala, it's always being specific enough. And I think what I got out of yesterday was maybe my target client is the woman who owns her own business.
Hmm.
And I think that will be far easier for me to work through everything that you're talking about.
I like that
And
it's
she'll be her own decision maker too.
it's very specific, because they self-gather in large numbers and frequently, and you know exactly where to find them. You can Google them. You can go to anywhere they are. They have online groups. I like it for you.
Yeah, so that's what I got out of it. Thank you so much.
That's really great. Anybody else? We hate dead air. So if nobody has anything else to ask me, I want to thank you all for joining. I want to remind you to make an appointment if you are looking for help. And I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for forever being on my recordings. And have an amazing holiday. And try to get in, this week to talk to me. Obviously, next week is a bust. But let's talk this week. Today and tomorrow, I've opened my calendars for you guys. And if you can't find a spot that works for you, just email me. And God knows you've gotten enough emails from me, so just hit reply to one of them. And I will see you hopefully this year, but if not, happy holidays. I'll see you next year.
Same to you, Chala.
Bye, everyone.